Yeah, so this evening uh, we have with us a new book and the author of the book who is Pogoat.
Pogoat, yes.
So could you tell us a little bit about how this book came about? It's a story set in Goa. It's about two youngsters,
Yes.
two young
It's
Goans.
about Charlie, who's the main character in the book. The book revolves around Charlie's trip. And pretty much I think the idea of the book is that Charlie's pretty much a Goan who faces the brunt of exactly what goes on and what doesn't go on in Goa. And from an exploration perspective, it's in terms of all this frustration that you feel uh, being in Goa and working in Goa, and what influences do come from either out of the state or out of the country. Now, how that does affect you? What does that leave upon you?
So in real terms, this is a story told over 2 days, and there are these two youngsters who are working in the field of tourism.
Yeah, so basically, Charlie is a shack owner. He's a third generation shack owner who's actually seen the decline in the business right now. And so Charlie's quest is that he would just like to be in Goa and chill out. But unfortunately, since he can't do it, there are other things that he has to do to make a buck. And the narrative captures his frustration, his experiences, as he has to get out of Goa and do something about his situation.
But the story starts in Goa,
It
where
starts in Goa,
he is
yes.
dealing with a tourist, and
So the first chapter is pretty much of a sort of an introduction that brings into the main situation that Charlie is right now, and then from there it takes off in terms of real time, which is 2 days in terms of his experiences as they leave Goa, they get into Bombay, what happens along the way, where do they land after that. But yes, it's set in two days exactly.
a lot of things happen in these 2 days.
Yes, in the sense that it's one of those situations that one thing leads to another, and you don't even know whether is it destiny, is it pure coincidence, is this something that's supposed to happen? And more than anything else, it's more of the unraveling of what he perceives could be a problem, but then what really is supposed to ends up being bigger than what he thought it was.
So could you say it's a story of the average Goan youth of the 21st century struggling to make it?
I would say I think there's a universality in terms of our struggles, and for what I mean by that is that we are united in our frustrations and we are united in the troubles that we do experience. And even though we are from Goa or anybody else, I think that there's a certain commonality that what we struggle in and what do we face. Now, Charlie's just trying to get through the whole thing, but in the process of getting through, it's what he uncovers is that he thinks that maybe it's because the tourism is in decline, maybe it's because of the general economic situation, and then that weaves deeper in terms of the web, so to say, that's kind of got a hold of him.
How did you come across this story? How did you decide on it?
I think well, I've been trying to write something for a very long time, and the whole idea of it was that what has really got us.
Yeah.
Is it capitalism? Is it just a class structure? Is it just that the elite are not letting go of power? What role does energy play in this? So I think so. The book tries to
All these issues are nicely woven into the book.
woven into the sense that this is how Charlie experiencing them as a normal person rather than as a lecture or something else. This is more like how he's personally affected by this. So it's something that I mean the clearest example to give you is that you're watching TV and you see a lot of events that happen on TV. Like somewhere there's a volcanic eruption, somewhere there are flash floods, and then suddenly you're also watching TV where you see like a tsunami is hitting Goa, and then what happens is that like the outside world suddenly tends to come inside and affects you personally.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is that
Things which are larger than you affect you.
there are a lot of things that are happening in the margin, and because of social media and news, etc., it's sort of a hyper normalization that we experience that, oh yeah, 300 people died over there, something else happened over there. But life for me is like as long as there's good fish curry at home and there's a certain amount of comfort and peace, that the margin doesn't really affect the center. So I think the idea of this book is that, where is the borderline between the margin and the center?
Fair weather brother, why?
I think to a large extent, the concept of fair weather brother is like, I think the Konkani word, Kam Zale Munis Melo sort of a thing that as soon as your job is done, you've forgotten the person and who he is. So, but in some sense of it, I think we are all pushed to be fair weather brothers in terms of how the economy works and how the social networking works is that as long as you have something to offer, someone has something to get. There's a great relationship. The moment that falls apart, both parties don't seem to know each other, and I think that this kind of pushes the extent of this ideology.
You are one of the many thousands of young Goans who lives and works outside the state and comes home on weekends.
Yes,
Is that experience reflected in the book in a way?
I think that it is. I think there's a whole theory that to an extent, that you cannot write outside your experience, and I think that a lot of it gets woven in terms of your narrative. So that's definitely true, because I've worked in many cities across India, and those kind of experiences have come into play. But this is more from a fictional perspective. But I think the common part is that at different levels, there seems to be a displacement that we all face. So whether me as a middle class writer, or someone as a son of a farmer, in most cases we are pushed to leave wherever is our native place to come into a metropolitan and work over there. And then neither do we have control in the metropolitan what's happening, and neither we have control of what's happening back home.
Yeah.
So that even though there is sense of belonging in some place, we really don't belong anywhere. So I think from that perspective, there's a frustratedness that you neither can make a difference in your home state, that you come on holiday or you hang around, or neither can you make a difference in the city that you live. And you may say that I love Bombay, I love Delhi, I love Bangalore, but let's take it like, those people will always think of as an outsider. And the same thing that people in Goa think of other people as an outsider. So I think it's a sort of sad situation that we've got ourselves into.
What's your early responses to the book?
I think it's been a mixed piece, and I think because it's just out, I've yet to hear some strong, as in opinions or voices. But generally, I think it's been what I've been told is that it's definitely refreshing. It's something that connects very differently, and definitely it's a break from the Tory angle that gets played, and I'm quite sick of it. So from that level, I think that for me, it's an achievement itself that I stayed away from writing some sort of sappy, emotional tale. So,
is it aimed at young audiences, millennials?
It's difficult to say in terms of who will accept it, because one is that it's written from a perspective of a 30-year-old, because Charlie is around in that age bracket, but the experience is like before 30, and also what lies after 30. So I think from that perspective, definitely going to be like a cross audience in that space.
And who are the main dramatis personae in the book apart from Charlie?
So apart from Charlie, there's Charlie's brother James, who's kind of hanging around, but James is more like who accompanies Charlie through it, rather than affect the story. I think there are other two main characters. So one is Inas, who's Charlie's cousin, who's trying to. So Charlie owns some prime beach property, and his cousin is trying to, like pull a fast on him and trying to get some kind of scam going. And then the other person is actually a Tibetan, but he's a displaced Tibetan who's from Bangalore, and he's sort of a stateless person. So I think that it's interesting to have a sort of a Tibetan who's never been to the Himalayas, who has not experienced that weather, but he still believes he's a sort of a Tibetan. And so I think that is the mix of these three characters is pretty much what the play is about.
And then they encounter all kinds of people in Bombay, in Delhi.
Yeah, the narrative flows in terms of in a very unexpected tone, in a sort of a trip.
Yeah.
So the narrative is in a sort of a road trip going crazy, so to say.
Yeah. Of course, we won't give any plot spoilers here, but yeah. I'd appreciate if you could read the blurb on the back cover just to give a
Sure, definitely. I'm still dyslexic, so I might make a mistake with one of this, but Charlie's grandfather and two village drunks were the only people present at Kolva Beach when the first hippie reached Goa. His father also enjoyed the tourism boom. Now Charlie's broke. Reality, as Charlie knows it, is constantly changing. With no profit left in the beach business, Charlie and his brother are now forced to leave Goa. In the space of 2 strange days, this novella follows Charlie's trip through visions and nightmares caused by psychotropic conversations. Pogoat is a Goan rider wrecked by the resource curse upon Goa. Nonetheless, he's not done much about it. So,
thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.